Hello, good evening, everyone. Mark Pritchard, Ghost Hunter. It's that time again for 8 p.m. till 9 p.m. I've got a very, very special guest joining me this evening by the name of Gavin Rafter. He's a psychic medium. Gavin,
Yeah. Sorry, I missed what you asked there, Mark.
how are you doing, Gavin? How's things?
Good, very good. Missing the paranormal though, so I'm glad
I,
lockdown's sort of over for events.
yeah, I'm looking at it as well. I haven't been out for, my God, the last investigation I think that I went on was around about 6, 7 months ago. It was quite a while ago.
I've done one outside that I found a haunted woods near me.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't know they were haunted because we walked the dog there, and always felt like we were watched. So I took the cameras over and had a couple of other people over there, extremely active.
Okay.
I've done a little bit, but only outdoors.
Yes, yeah, yes. There's plenty of locations, and that's one thing that I like, Gavin, as well, is trying to find locations, because there are plenty of locations, aren't there, around the UK that people are not fully aware of, isn't there?
Yeah, yes, all over the place. There's very rarely that I'd turn up anywhere that I wouldn't say can be active. It's a matter of just trying to get spirits to use devices or whatever in the paranormal that they can communicate with. Just like a
Yeah.
learning curve for them as well.
Where I want to start with you, Gavin. I know that we met at Grendon Hall. It was one of the first times that I met you, and obviously that investigation was very, very interesting in itself, because obviously the place now it's no longer available for the public to enter now, is it?
No, I only looked it up actually last night. Um, a sale had fallen through with Grendon Hall and it's back under offer at present. I can't see it turning into a residential home, so fingers crossed it will turn back up as a residential, sorry, as a event. That's one of my
Exactly.
favourite locations.
Because it was a huge place, wasn't it? I mean, I was absolutely amazed by, obviously, as you go into Grendon Hall. This is in Northamptonshire. As you go in there, the wooden paneling for me, especially in the paranormal world, is a very good conductor for that sort of thing, isn't it?
That is an extremely active place. I've been there twice, but some of the most strongest experiences. That with my son on a chair, we've had the chair flying around, and he was 30, 12, 13 stone, sat on a chair, and we've just got fingertips on it. Four of us,
Wow.
and the chair flying around the room.
Yeah.
I've not seen that or repeated that anywhere else other than Grendon.
Yeah. Gavin, what I want to obviously ask you first, and I do this with all my guests when they come on and join me. I'd like to ask, when did you first realise that you had obviously a gift, to obviously that sort of gift to communicate with spirit?
I developed a lot later in life, but as a child, I guess probably my mother and my father, they were separated, both lived in houses where spirits were. So I knew at a young age, especially in cellars, going down there, and that was where I sort of first. No one would go down there at night time, especially at my father's house in the cellar. So if there was wine or anything needed extra, I was asked to go down, which
Really? Yeah.
was uncomfortable, but it was like that was where I got rid of most of my fear. So I knew from then, but I only really started developing um, just under 3 years ago, but developed very, very fast. I think it was only the third or fourth event that I'd actually gone on when I met you. And since then, I now work in the paranormal and do clearances, work as a psychic medium. Hence my full-time work. Now I've given up everything else. So it was kind of meant to be. But yeah, I knew from a child, but just didn't develop till later in life.
Yeah. I mean, was there obviously a connection? Obviously, was there family members that might have had like psychic abilities in the past before you actually started to realise that you had it?
Yes. On my mum's side, only from doing a Ouija board, that she was terrified of paranormal. But my father's mother was very sensitive, mainly to do with dreams. So was a couple of her children. But back on my grandmother's side, yes, there were people in Ireland, yes.
Okay, okay. Another thing about yourself as well, Gavin, you're obviously a psychic medium as well. I mean, obviously, are you into like demonology, and do you go into trances as well? Because I find that very, very interesting as well.
Trances I don't do fully. I think I've got the ability to be able to do trance. Closest, well, I guess I have, but more on a paranormal front than on a reading front. So more with general spirits than like guides. But yes, I've got qualification in demonology. I've got quite a few qualifications, but demonology is one of them. And I do perform clearances and
Yeah.
to a point.
Yeah. Obviously, with clearances, I mean, you obviously do private ones, Gavin. What sort of, like, do you get obviously the feelings as soon as you enter the house or the building, or does it not?
It can often be beforehand. Often beforehand on the actual initial contact would be where I start to pick things up. So I've normally got an idea before I arrive somewhere what kind of thing I'm going to be encountering or what's likely to be there. Typically, if someone called me and said they've got a problem and it's haunting, if it wasn't, I'm pretty much told beforehand, no, it's not, your granddad's around you, for instance. But no, typically I'm told what's around there before I turn up.
Yeah.
Most of them.
I mean, does it get to an actual point? I mean, I've asked other guests as well that are mediums that have joined me on my show. What are the feelings? Do they tend to affect you in a sort of way, or can you actually say that you actually put a wall or a barrier between you beforehand?
I've got no fear, okay, which is they can only really get to you with fear, and I've got an awful lot of intent. So your intention goes a long way. Typically now, if I turn up anywhere to do a clearance, 9 times out of 10, if anyone else would turn up, the negative energy will approach them very fast and try and show that they're there and push them back. Typically, if I arrive somewhere, I've then got to find the demon, so to speak, because they'll normally hide from me because they know what I do. And they know that the negative energies pretty much will keep their distance from me, or they'll come close once, and then even on spirit box, because I can have communication mentally stop. Even on spirit box, they'll turn around. Normally, excuse the language here, but often on the spirit box, I'll get, oh shit, Bishop. Yeah. The spirit world have nicknamed me Bishop because historically, bishops did clearances. So when I do things like that, that's what normally comes through on a spirit box.
Yeah.
No, I've got no fear now, and typically it's me having to find and locate the spirit rather than when I first started doing clearances, and they'd be right up in my face. That doesn't happen anymore. They normally keep a distance.
Keep a distance from you. Yes, yeah. I mean, obviously, these obviously people that ask you to come and do the house clearances for you, Gavin. Is there a point where you know, can it get quite emotional as well? I can imagine that it can do, because these people have been obviously experiencing what they've been experiencing within their home or within their place where they are, where they're you know, it must get to them, and again, you've got to try and reassure them, obviously, that when you come in, that everything's going to be. I mean, how does that all go about?
Typically, because I'm not a typical medium, I've got a lot of equipment to also work paranormal. So on clearances, I will take the equipment along. So, for instance, a spirit box, so they can hear with their own ears, because I've got guides that will aid me. Once we've finished their clearance, half the time it's then convincing them that clearance has happened. But then when a spirit box is going, they've heard it all the way through the night, what you're doing, and all of a sudden it goes dead quiet and peaceful. You say, is it all done? Because I work with one called Anna when I'm doing clearances. Anna, is it all done? And the spirit box comes, yes, all clear. And you've already felt the energy change. And that's just like the reassurance for them. And with SLS and things like that, they can see things. And then all of a sudden, everything's gone and it's just gone quiet. So then they've got the proof themselves, as well as you me just telling them it's all gone. Because half the time they think they've gone mad in the first place, or they're crazy and don't really know whether they've actually got a problem or not. So to prove to them and show them some physical evidence, look, you have had a problem. This is what's here. This is what we're dealing with. There's 3, or there's 2, or there's 1. And then they're normally reassured. But it's just telling them that not all activity will stop. It's the hardest thing to explain, because they've got loved ones around. So once they've seen things happen, they will get touched and things still. Granddad will come up close and comfort them. So there's a fine line between what's acceptable paranormal, and like from family, or what's not meant to be there and causing a problem. Because often I'll pick up on the phone, oh, look, it is just family that are around you. This is happening, this is happening, this is happening. There's nothing else happening, just your TV's turning off by itself, your radio's playing on its own, and you're getting touched with an arm around you, but only when you're feeling sad. It's your dad. And then they're reassured. I have actually done a few clearances in lockdown where I haven't actually needed to even go to the venue. I've done it all remotely.
Wow, wow. Gavin, what's one of the most weirdest experiences that you have personally experienced when you've been doing house clearances?
Clearance-wise, a lady local to me had problems, but she wouldn't listen to the initial advice, which I'd said, he's going to keep coming back, because she kept communicating with it, which was then an invite back. So she wasn't really listening, and it kept coming back, and every time it came back, it was stronger.
Right.
Final time where she did listen, I got to the house and she'd already rang me. Her voice was changing between a male and hers, so she was possessed. When I got there, wouldn't come down to he wouldn't come down to unlock the door because he was using her body. When she finally did, she didn't tread on the steps. She levitated the whole way down the flight of steps. It was like she was skiing, but controlled and slow.
Yeah.
Just floated down the steps. The legs did not move, and that probably one of the times that I don't have any fear, but I did think, oh,
Yeah,
shit.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
We were in the car and took her to a church, which was just head went, I've got to do something near religious because I don't really use religion in clearances. But I need to do something here to push it back out. And so I had a conversation with a man that sat next to me the whole time on the way to the church that was telling me that he hated me. The church work, but that's the weirdest thing I've seen.
Yeah. Oh wow. Wow. Yeah. I mean, obviously going to obviously the religious side of the paranormal. I mean, obviously it's out there, isn't it? I mean, people obviously like demons. You know, let's go down the road of obviously demons and that. I mean, what's your take on demons, Gavin?
Demons are like people. There's good and there's bad. It's a name that we've given to energies that haven't lived on this earth. So poltergeist could be a spirit, or is a spirit that's lived on the earth, playful and naughty, or maybe a negative energy. Demons are something different. They've never lived on the earth. There are good and bad. Some can be very helpful, and they don't mean to cause a problem, and they're here. Others want to cause a problem, maybe want to. My belief and what I've been told, my beliefs are my own. It's not necessarily everyone's, but some cases with demons, some of them want to rip apart a person mentally as much as they can and almost push them towards suicide, which I believe if they do that, there's a chance they can claim the soul and come and live on the earth, which is why they do what they do.
Yeah, because it can get to those extreme measures though, can't it, with people, if they get into that kind of that mindset, isn't it? That they truly believe that these things are happening. You've seen it as well on your side. You're thinking, wow, you know, this must be quite hard to deal with on day-to-day life.
But most spirit problems with clearances, 70% of them, if not 80% of them, are down to spirits that have lived. It's very small percentage with demons that we'd call. Normally they're normally older properties, and it's an old owner of the house that still thinks they own the house, wants to take care of it, and you're in the middle of doing development work. So they might have lived there 10 years, they've knocked part of the wall down, and that spirit's all of a sudden not happy because you're not taking care of the house. So that's typically the kind of things that you're more often called for. Or mirrors, the biggest problem, people picking up secondhand mirrors and things like that.
But mirrors, it's funny you should say that, Gavin, because I've had a lot of experiences, especially on doing paranormal investigations, that I've caught things on mirrors. There was one in the Cardiff mansion in Wales. I was in one of the bedrooms there, and there's this table. You might have seen it, or my members might have seen it as well. But a lot of people are not spotting it, Gavin. A lot of people are not spotting it. I spotted it straight away as soon as I actually filmed it, because I was there at the time when it happened. But when you look back on it, it's very, very faint. But it's kind of like a small dot or a shadow going across the mirror when I asked. Now, I asked, obviously, the spirit that was within the room to actually do that at that time. And amazingly, it happened, you know. And I was trying to debunk it in all things, like, because we were like about a third floor up, because this has got 4 floors, the mansion has. So it couldn't have been car lights of any sort, because that's probably what I was thinking it was at the time. But it's a kind of feeling when you're there, when it's happening. I've got goosebumps, you know, everywhere on my arms and my neck. My hairs on my neck went up and stuff like that. And I knew that it was a spirit trying to make contact with me.
That's because you're sensitive to it. They know you are. So anyone that is slightly sensitive and for what you do going into the paranormal, if you imagine like lighthouses, anyone that's slightly sensitive, it lights up a light for spirit. So they will come around you, and they know there's more chance of communicating to you than the skeptic that's come along to disprove that spirits exist. And whenever it comes to an event, a spirit going to go and communicate to him, or they're going to go to someone that's got a light above their head that says they believe or can experience things. So that's the way spirit, you'll get more interaction that way if you're sensitive to them than like a complete skeptic or a non-believer, because they've just got no light above their head for spirits to come and communicate. Of course, the more you develop, the more the light is bright, so can attract more and more.
Yeah, yeah. I know another thing as well, obviously going back earlier to the conversation that we were having, Gavin, was the fact that obviously knowing places that are very unknown, people that are not aware that these places are haunted or that there is any spiritual connectivity to them. But I've found out, especially in a place near Worcester, where I used to go when I was in my teens, we used to go across the field and stuff. We went to a level crossing, apparently, a train level crossing, where a lot of suicides took place there, and we've had many. Well, I had many experiences there of seeing crazy lights, seeing apparitions at this spot. I mean, you try to imagine that obviously when they did commit suicide, the trauma that must have been involved at that when that actually happened, that can trigger the energies, can't it? I would have thought.
Yes, and where you might experience that a lot of people wouldn't, could be they're calling for help. Because if you're lit up slightly and they're stuck, a lot of cases with suicide, they could be still stuck, earthbound. So then the energies will remain, especially if they're extremely sad. They're still in that emotion. They haven't got the love that's necessarily needed in order to pass on. So then you've got to kind of give them the love to pass on. But that is level crossings and road accidents and things like that are where you'd sense them or see them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was like at Grandon Hall as well. I think there was one area in the upper floors in the bedroom where we went into that room, and I think somebody committed suicide in there. But as soon as everyone went into that room, everyone picked up on the energies that there was something wrong with it, wasn't that?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Everyone did. Other than maybe a couple of them that were skeptical. But yes, that was lungs. In fact, you were out of breath as soon as you got up that last flight of stairs. It was like you were choked. It was like out of breath. And then you could move further up the corridor. It wasn't like that. Another place that springs to mind that was like that is Peterborough Museum. I don't know if you've been. It used to be a hospital, and it was tuberculosis. And you go up the stairs there, 90% of people, as soon as they go up there, and then as soon as they get up there, because they're picking up the energies of the people that would have died in the hospital.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I mean, is that another thing that happens to you as well, Gavin? When you go, obviously, do you get the feelings of the actual spirit of whatever might have been wrong with them before they passed over?
Yes, especially in readings, they'll give me that as evidence or show me how they passed. So yes, and then it's just asking them to take it away. I don't find it uncomfortable or anything anymore, but I can see how someone that wasn't used to it could. Because spirit will always listen when you ask them to take it back. Again, it's your intent stronger than theirs. Even if it's a negative spirit, take it away. Then they've kind of got to.
Yeah, because it must be quite hard as well. Obviously, when you're doing your mediumship and you come across someone and you're getting obviously relatives coming through, does it get quite emotional, Gavin? Obviously, seeing the person that you're relaying back to information on the person that's passed away, does that have an effect on you, or you'll be able to like?
I guess if you're talking about readings, I guess not, because I have to get into a quiet mind state, which is where my mind's completely clear anyway. So literally at the point I'm doing, sometimes it's too fast. Whatever comes, I've just repeated before I've even vetted it, which sometimes be a bit of a shock when it's come out a bit quick, but they'll always take it. So no, because by the end of a reading, even if whoever I was reading for had got a weight over their shoulders to do with father dying or mother dying and they didn't say goodbye, or whoever it was, spirit will comfort them and tell them, look, it's all right, and this has happened or that's happened, and give them the proofs and tell them they're loved, and it will normally get rid of that pain from over their shoulders. So then they've sort of moved on. So in that way, at the end of a reading, it's like, actually, no, that was really good, and they needed that. So I'd more pick up on the positive emotion at the end of the reading, not what I'm picking up at the start of the reading. to do with the person I'm reading for. I can pick up, though, the energies of the spirit that may be sad or have got a problem of this, that, or the other that's emotional. When they approach me, I can pick up that energy far easier.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What I'm going to do, Gavin, is I've obviously put the message out to obviously my followers on the actual group page, obviously to know that you were coming on. I've had some questions that have been relayed to me, and I'm going to relay them to you. Dave Green asks if you could do an investigation anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Anywhere in the world. Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Alcatraz.
Definitely, yeah.
But I think I could spend a week there. I'd love to give it more than just one bit of time in this place, and that actually a good quality amount of time. Then I think you'd actually have an awful lot going on. But, you know, if I ever see on YouTube Alcatraz as a paranormal or anything on that, then I'm very, very interested.
Yeah, because
be high on the list.
Obviously, it's a prison, isn't it? And we all know about prisons. I mean, I've been to quite a few in the UK. I've been to Shrewsbury Prison, Gloucester Prison. I've been to these places, and they're the ones that are quite hard as well, especially for me, because you do pick up on the energies. You go into a lot of, you know, the cells and that, and you do pick up a lot of the energies.
Even the waiting rooms coming through, energy that just even the living had left behind, where they were going to see their loved ones, and like the visiting areas. That's one of the heaviest energies in the prisons or death row. I've been to Shepton Mallet, so I'm basing what I'm saying on that here. But because they were hung still at that prison, there's a lot of energy around there where families would know they weren't going to see them again, or when they walked through those doors, they knew what their sentence was and they were going to be dying there. So the energies in those type of prisons are much different to the modern prisons where there's no death penalty.
Yeah, because
strong energies.
Yeah, because you obviously think, yeah, the prisons. I mean, their crimes, whether they be horrific or whether they be like minor crimes, it must have been awful at the time, you know, to be just staring at those four walls, you know, and not being able to do anything. And it kind of, to them, it's going to send them insane, isn't it, Gavin? You know,
especially with those ones where they wouldn't be punished for those crimes today. So maybe taking a loaf of bread or something like that because they were absolutely starving and they've died in that prison and they were only young. And that's very emotional to pick up the energies of that in the prisons, with these older prisons.
Yeah. Right, another question. Amy White asks, what is the first thing you'd pack when you're heading out to an investigation?
Myself.
Yourself? Yeah.
Because, so there's two ways for that. Obviously, I couldn't do it without myself. But if she's talking about instruments-wise, I trust my own sensitivity before any other equipment. So it'd have to be myself, because I can feel, I can see, I can touch, I can communicate. So that would be, I wouldn't care if I didn't have anything else, as long as I'd still got those skills. But second, so on top of that, the only other bit that I would not want to forget would be a camera. I can pick up no end of evidence just with a camera and a flash. That was a tough choice between the camera or a spirit box.
Yeah, but it's like you say though. I mean, I've always, since I've been in the paranormal world, the best tool, as you've mentioned, is yourself, isn't it? Or with all your senses and stuff. Sometimes you don't need all that major equipment that a lot of these paranormal groups go out and take, isn't it?
Yeah, I prefer the equipment. So when I've gone to the spirit over there, I can turn the SLS around and show them that what I've just seen is actually there. Or turn the spirit box on and say they've just told me, and then they repeat it on the spirit box, which is fascinating for people to hear. It's not just taking the word of what I'm saying, it's spirit always back it up, then with an electronic device. But yeah, spirit boxes are wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, I've got, especially with digital voice recorders as well, I get quite a lot off that as well, you know, which is
Do nowadays, now I listen to the sound back off of videos that I've taken. I've never done that until recently, and then there's quite a few EVPs that I've captured that I was completely unaware of. I'd caught. Yeah, no, they're brilliant. What spirit can do, they can do more and more. So my beliefs are always changing. The amount that they can do, there's always one that can throw something else into the mix of what they can do, and they can learn. I just don't understand how certain items work, but they do work. Like I was using a visual, I don't know whether you use the app Deadwave. They've got a visual part on there that's just like an analog video loop. I use that online with viewers, and viewers' loved ones were coming through on the images I was showing to the viewers online. So what Spirit can do is amazing. Like I've used in lockdown the Spirit box to bring loved one, controlled it enough to keep the energy so they're not all rushing it. Having loved ones speak to their daughters or their sons through the Spirit box rather than it just from me so they can hear their voice. Yeah. I didn't know whether it would be possible, but it's always worth giving things a go.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. Gavin, I want to obviously ask you as well about, and this is one of my main important things that I like to ask my guests who come onto my show, is that do you believe in like spiritual haunted objects? Are you a believer in that?
Yes. One 100%.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, objects obviously come like dolls, obviously people's personal items like jewelry and stuff like that. Do you pick up on stuff like that for people when you do your readings?
Jewelry doesn't necessarily mean there's an attachment of a spirit. Jewelry could be because it's normally something that's been worn for a prolonged period of time, so there are energies on it. So it'd be more my psychic abilities that pick up the energies from that jewelry. It doesn't mean that there couldn't be something attached to jewelry, but I'd said that was a bit different to a spirit doll or a teddy or things like that. But again, different religion. Normally, if it's a doll or something like that, it is a spirit that has lived on this earth. Okay, but then of course you've got boxes and things from other religions, the divot boxes and the jinns and things like that, which are very much different.
You've just said that special word. Is it divot box? Now, I still have one in my possession, Gavin. And I know you inquired about it for me to send it to you.
Is it near you?
It's not. And the weirdest thing about it is I won't go anywhere near it because
I was going to say before we finished at the end, if it was near you, just hold it up and I'll tell you what I pick up from it.
Okay. We have put it away somewhere out in the shed, but I can't find it. It's not in there.
I don't feel it's negative.
So it's crazy, you know. I even went in there yesterday, you know, to have a quick look. I could not see it anywhere, and we did put it in there. So I'm going to hunt again because it must be in there. It can't be anywhere else. But obviously, going to the debug boxes, I mean, I personally don't like going anywhere near it. I just get this feeling from it, even though it's not been opened. It's got candle wax. It's got a Pentagon 5-star on it. It's just, it just scares me. I mean, have you experienced these things?
Yes, the biggest place where I've come across those energies, which again, some are good and some are bad, which is where I picked that up from, would have been the Poltergeist house in Rotherham. There they've got a room that's purely divot boxes, etc. They'd opened them in there as well. So the spirits that were in there, they were very, very strong. But they weren't all bad. Some were, like on our side, more trying to be protective, which were the jinns. But there were others that were negative. But they'll often go for the weakest people rather than the strongest. Try and do what they do. But they're very strong, very much different energy to a human spirit. Some would have been brought around as like more good luck charms and been closed in to bring good luck. But others would have been to actually used for cursing people. It depends what the intent was when they were, because a lot of the times they've been tricked, that energy's been tricked into getting into that box in the first place. So
okay. And it's kind of like the items as well that are within the boxes as well, aren't there? Because you can get a varied range of items. It could be literally anything, can't it?
I've not seen the insides of many boxes. I've come into contact with quite a few. The Haunted Museum Nottingham, I've got up close to their divot box, which is a very, very negative one. They've got it chained in a locked room, in a cabinet. So really keep it in. That energy would need to be kept away. That could harm people, especially with fires, from what I remember picking up from it. So completely different energy.
Yeah, because there was an incident, I think I mean, this is, I mean, I'm going back months and months ago, and I don't know whether anyone heard the story about this woman who did open one of these boxes, and the things that were happening within her house was absolutely strange. You know, things were going missing, lights were turning on and off. She was hearing footsteps around the house. There was actually like fire was starting in her house, like on her sofas, her carpets, and her curtains and stuff like that. Which again, you know, absolutely, I think to myself, that's quite terrifying, isn't it?
It always steps up. It starts off something small and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But it's only just come into my mind now. But some of those times, do you think it's because they're after attention, to know that they're there in order to be helped back to wherever they've come from if they were tricked into that item in the first place? So the only thing that they know is negative, or we're perceiving it as negative, which really they just want it to be known. If you were locked away for years and years, I imagine any of us would all be pretty negative when we let back out.
Exactly. You wouldn't be happy, would you?
Especially if you're not wanting to be here, which most of those aren't. Well, they're not human spirit, so they want to just be returned to wherever they're meant to have come from.
Yeah. I mean, the other question as well, Gavin, is that obviously these boxes have been designed. They've obviously been done, but what sort of people are doing these sort of things and putting these boxes out there? Are they people to do with obviously spiritualism, that demonologists or that are witches and stuff like that? Are they the ones that are doing these things? Because the one that I got was obviously from a lady who obviously dealt in witchcraft.
Black magic, I'd say. The majority of black magic, they're worse energies if they've come from abroad. Not necessarily voodoo, but around that sort of religion. That's where most of it's from black magic. If they're not there, it's not earthbound, then yes, it's got to be witchcraft and summoned in from somewhere.
Yeah, it's really mind blowing, really.
It's very much different from dolls or something like that, where, in my beliefs, they've had a choice of whether they want to be attached to that item. In some cases, they've attached themselves to that item because they don't want to cross over for whatever reason, or they want to stay on Earth helping, or they don't want to go up and be judged, so they attach themselves to an item, or because they desperately miss someone. That's very much different to where they've been tricked into an item.
Yeah. Well, Gavin, I think I've got.
Can I ask very quickly, because I can't get this out of my head, Mark? I'm seeing a storage area.
Seeing my.
In your house, have you got somewhere that you throw like junk in the house? Understairs cupboard or something that backs onto like a garage or something?
We have something covered.
Like a cupboard or something that you put the junk, or something covered where you put all the junk.
Yeah. Okay. How did you know?
Because I'm being told that box has got itself back into your house.
Really? What you're saying? It's in that area now, as we speak.
That area, but it's as if it's hidden behind something. So it's not in a cupboard. It's like behind something, but to do with where you put that. Right.
Okay.
I couldn't get it out of my head. I just have to tell you.
Wow, that's quite special, because I don't think I've ever had a guest on that said something like that. But yeah, I can have a look at it a bit later, and I'll let you know if it is behind there, and I do find it. I feel like
it's in your shed.
Yeah. Wow. Incredible.
Give me one sec.
Wait, it's another question for you, Gavin.
Yeah.
Jamie Winner says, what advice would you give someone heading out an investigation for the first time?
Energy. Make sure that you enjoy yourselves, have fun. The more fun that you're having, the more energy that you're using, the more interaction that you're trying. Give spirit the energy to see or experience something paranormal. If you're sat there like that, quiet as anything, you're not really going to get anything to happen. I know you have to be quiet in order to hear the taps or the bangs, but when you initially arrive, communicate with the spirit. Be noisy, have some fun. Even singing and things like that can raise the energy of a room, which is gaining the spirit's energy to interact. The more energy that you give, the more you give into a investigation, the more you'll get out of it. So there's no point arriving and just sat there not believing. If there's a skeptic near you, get as far away from as possible to more likely to experience more. They can bring the energy of a whole group down.
Exactly, because there are many ones that I've been on, and I think that, like you're saying, it is crucial for people to, if they want to go on these investigations, you know, at least go with an open mind. At least open your mind to it, you know, instead of, because you know there are times where I've gone to investigations. I take one for example, like the ancient Mammon. Obviously, I've been there. I've done 2 investigations there. It's one of the most haunted places in the UK. But every time when I've been, Gavin, it's been absolutely quiet. There's been no activity whatsoever there,
other
which
than the cupboard.
it sounds absolutely crazy. Yeah, I mean, I've been there twice, and every time when I've been, it's been absolutely quiet. There's not a lot that's happened. But there
I'm
again,
not
I
in the
mean,
main part of the house. I've just been picking up about the cupboard or something on the downstairs. I've not been there.
yeah, yeah, but it's really weird. And then, but I knew that it wasn't going to be very good because obviously there were a few people there that were obviously skeptics at the time. Having them sort of energies there that are not really taking part in it, it does have an effect on it, doesn't it?
It does. We've had tables flying around with table tipping with guests. None of us are touching it, but the table's moving. And the skeptic, oh, let me have a go. 1 minute, it all stops. And I don't know whether that's because then they're putting so much pressure on it. You obviously just have to have a gentle touch that it all stops, or they're like, I'm not performing for them. If they don't believe, they can sod off kind of attitude from spirit. Or the opposite
Yeah,
happens, it goes absolutely crazy, and the table will squash them into a corner. So it's either one or the other. You'll get absolutely nothing, or it'll go and physically try and do something to the skeptic.
yeah. Obviously, table tipping, I find it's a very fascinating thing because on the table tipping that I've done personally myself, it's the same for you as well. It's an easy way to obviously communicate with spirit, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people have said to me when I've been doing it as well that you're applying pressure with your fingers and you're subconsciously not noticing that you're doing it. But I have seen, I know that obviously about 5 or 6 people around. I've seen that they are genuinely not pushing. They're not putting any, you know, they're not pushing this chair. This chair is literally moving on its own. I think, where was it? It was a place in Wales where I went to. It's one of the castles there, and we were obviously doing you know a table tip at that certain time, and we all had our fingers on it, but the table was moving. It was literally at one point it was levitating off the floor, and I was looking down.
You can't do that with your fingertip. Like I said, Grendon, we had my son on the 12 stone, sat on a chair. So 4 of us with a fingertip. You try and push a 12 stone person, 4 of you even with your fingertip, it's not going to happen. So there's no other way than there's some other energy controlling it.
Yeah.
Grendon, again, if you recall Grendon, the bunk beds, they were metal, solid steel things that were extremely heavy.
Yes.
We went to start moving one of those with our fingertips. And again, there were only 3 or 4 of us. And we then realised it was a crazy idea. This table was squashing people into the corner. And we thought, this bed's it's so heavy. If this does move, it could kill one of us if it does fly because it started to move. But there was no way that I couldn't have even moved it myself trying to drag it or push it. It weighed an absolute ton. But spirit had to get involved to move that. Which again, you know, these people that get superhuman powers, like a mother there's a child squashed under a car, and she can physically get hold of that car and she lifts it up to release the child. That's kind of the same, in my opinion, as table tipping. The energy is coming from spirit in order to make that happen. So you may have even that pressure on, but it's not enough to be able to do what you're seeing.
Yeah, but people don't realise that they have. I mean, like you said about obviously, if someone that you love got trapped under a car or whatever, you find that sort of energy at that moment. In that moment, you think, where's it coming from? But it does, doesn't it? Because your adrenaline is running so much, you don't realise that you do it to obviously get somebody out.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'd love to take a picture of someone doing that, though, just to see whether there's a row of spirits behind them as well, giving a lift.
Yeah. I know. When we did the investigation at Grandin as well, Gavin, I think it was one of the investigators' mom, wasn't it? I think we obviously did what they call
Yes,
human tipping, like, wasn't it? Or
human pendulum, yeah.
human pendulum, yes, yeah, and it got quite out of hand, didn't it? If you remember.
Yeah, she had to be carried out. That was kind of a possession, basically. I know it did zap her energy. I haven't seen that happen again, really. It's not normal for that to happen with human pendulum. The only time that, well, what I kind of pick up is if you stay with the human pendulum and you're giving the answer of spirit, and someone asks a question and you move in the direction you want to, isn't necessarily the answer of the spirit, then spirit could get annoyed. I think that's more, if you're leading the answers that aren't necessarily correct, then there is a problem with spirit getting their own back. So I don't think it was someone wanting to leave with them. That wasn't the intention. But yeah, that wasn't nice at all. That wasn't a nice experience.
Gavin, I'd like to ask you, just then I heard, you haven't got a TV or a radio or anything playing in the background, have you?
You may have just heard a dog.
Ah, right, that's probably what it was.
Yeah, the little dog just yapped.
Oh, yeah. You're not the only one. I've got a dog here as well, which is really cool. But yeah, obviously going back to that situation, and Gavin, obviously when she was taken over by a spirit, it gets to a stage where it gets quite frightening, doesn't it? Because she was really in a bad way, wasn't she? I mean, her breathing and everything was getting quite to the stage where you had to really step in, didn't you?
I didn't do too much there because I couldn't get close because the daughter was there as well. So they pretty much did the majority with the cross. I know I told or demanded the spirit step back, which it kind of did. And the moment that it did step back, she had absolutely no recollection of what had happened or why she was outside. So that was a prime example of spirit taking over the body, kind of in its entirety. She did not have a clue how she got outside, what she was doing, and just energy had gone. But that Grendon is a different place. The energy in Grendon is completely different. I've had some of my best captures on photos from there, and some of the experiences there completely different. That was one of the first places that I realised my intent to control energies, spirit energies, kind of developed from Grendon. I was one of the investigations. I was a little bit rude to one of the spirits there, and I got dragged around a room. After that, I thought, well, if they can touch me, I can touch them. So then, like, if they can touch me, I can hold their energy. So my intent was stronger than theirs was, but I did go back and apologise the time I met you there. And I think it taught me a big lesson to do with clearances, and it was kind of for a purpose to know that I could control energies. Their energies there, it's just different. It's a different type of energy. I think there was quite a few crimes committed there, especially with the stairs and the lady falling over. Definitely the male energy in that house, he was evil. So he still is. He doesn't mind being spotted or anything else. It's probably one of the only locations I've been to where there's a very much big presence of positive spirits as well as a negative spirit. You normally either go to somewhere that's really negative or really positive, and that really is a mixture of both.
Yes, yeah, definitely, yeah. Gavin, do you like, obviously, another question is, I haven't asked you yet, obviously when you go out, when you do the house clearances, when you do mediumship work at some of the haunted places that you go to, is there a time where you just switch off as soon as you get back home, or do you get the spirits, do they follow you back? What happens there?
No, I've never had spirit follow me back, because when I've cleared them, they've gone back to wherever they originated. So even if it's a demon that's not lived on the earth, that'd go into another conversation on how, but there's somewhere else that they can go, so they go back. Likewise, if it's a human spirit, then typically it'd be the light, or typically the light. They can be taken forcibly with my love, opposed to even if they've got no love and they don't regret, got no remorse, you can still get them up with your own love when you know how. Dealing with it, Archangel Michael would be the biggest one that I deal with. So no, I've not had that experience of following back. The only time that I've had that happen was from a private investigation pub, which it did come back. I dealt with it once it was home, once we were home. That was a completely different energy. He wasn't happy because I'd stripped him away from who he was hidden in their aura. So he chose to do that. But no, I haven't had any problem with anything following back other than that. I do often get, if I'm driving around, spirits that will jump into the car. They won't distract me. But when I get home, I'm told that spirits need the light. So I do end up with spirits coming back with me, but they're ones with good intent. So no, I've not had from a location any that follow back. Typically now as well, if we leave anywhere, I'll just imagine and pour the light over myself, and I know that nothing negative can come near me. Typically, most negative energies won't even want to come near me they'll keep as far distance as possible because they might not want to move on or go back to wherever they're meant to be. They're terrified of that. So they've got more fear of me than I have of them, which is a bit different to most. So I know I've had a couple of instances on like paranormal events where someone may have had a bit of a problem, but if I tell them to step back, and it's like they'll do it out of choice rather than being forcibly removed from being by someone. No, I really don't fear, because I don't even believe anything would try and follow me back anymore. I just couldn't comprehend that particularly happening. They'd just keep as far away from me as possible.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I know. Earlier on in the year, we had some sad news, didn't we, Gavin? We probably lost one of the bestest mediums that I think that I've ever seen work. Obviously, the Derek Okora. You know, such a shock, wasn't it, to everyone, wasn't it, at the time, to hear about his passing?
He was a good medium. I'm sure he'll be remembered for his, well, for Most Haunted. The most memorable thing with him was that Dick loves Mary and Mary loves Dick. Dick loves Mary. Mary loves Dick. And he just kept repeating it because everyone was laughing because he was trying to get the message through, which I could understand. It's like, because he wouldn't have been an hour playing like here. He'd have been taking the message because everyone's laughing. He doesn't think everyone understood it. So 4 or 5 times he was, and then just realised what he'd said. Things like that can happen with spirit, but that was very, very funny.
Yeah, it was funny. You know, he will be missed, because I genuinely spoke to the guy. You know, he came onto my show briefly, but the time when it didn't work, and I was absolutely gutted that I didn't have the chance to actually speak to him one-on-one like we have been doing. But he was inspirational, wasn't he? Like, to obviously start to get the ball rolling with obviously paranormal investigations at that time, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's. I know he's got a lot of haters as well as lovers. His heart was in the right place. What he did as a medium was fantastic. If that's even discrediting paranormal, or maybe he did have to do things or was paid to do things differently with the TV, but what he did with communication for loved ones, just on a private scale and readings, was amazing. He was lovable.
Yeah, wasn't he? Yeah, and he will be very, very sadly missed.
He will be.
Well, I'd like to ask again, Gavin. This is great. Thoroughly enjoying it. I hope everyone's enjoying it who's watching it at home as well. Please, obviously, my guests who are watching this great interview tonight with Gavin, if you've got any questions, please fire away, because obviously the comments, which I see on the right-hand side of the screen at this moment. So if you've got a question to ask Gavin, please fire away at any point. But I want to go back to earlier on in the interview, Gavin, that you were saying about haunted woods, weren't you? I mean,
yeah.
A lot of people, I mean, especially myself, I've been to a few haunted wooded areas. Now, I get different feelings as well when I go to, obviously, the places, the woods. Like you've got your historical buildings, you've got your mansions, you've got your castles and stuff. But with woodlands, it seems a different kind of haunting, doesn't it? Because I've had a few experiences, especially in my younger years, that there was some woodland up in Worcestershire where I used to live. And I was with a group of friends. We weren't out ghost hunting. We weren't doing any of that sort of thing. And we just saw this gentleman. Now, we didn't see his face, but we saw like his silhouette. And he was just walking away. And we actually said hello to this guy, a few friends. And he didn't even answer us. And then after a split second, he was gone. And me and my friends were kind of looking at each other thinking, we have just seen somebody walking through the woods, and he's just totally vanished. It's crazy.
And woods are a different energy. But before I come back to that one, what you just said about seeing someone, my experience of seeing someone with my own eyes and not realizing I actually had a conversation with, I was doing nothing paranormal. I didn't even realize that they weren't there and they were in spirit. I was delivering something for someone, and I went past the parcel over the gate. I actually passed the parcel over the gate. Then I went to a local shop and said, when they asked what I was doing there, said I'd been delivering a parcel, delivered it to the blah, blah, blah house. There was a man dealing with his horse in the yard. I said, I know what house you're meaning. There hasn't been a man with a horse at that house for many, many years. But lots of people do see spirit of the horse and the man. I've just had a full-blown conversation with him. And so I handed a parcel to a man that was a spirit. So There was no horse, no man at that property. It wasn't what I described was the man that had lived there 70 years ago. So that seeing something was just, it just reminded me when you said about the woods. The woods themselves, in my beliefs, everything's got energy. Okay? So trees, in a forest, you've got hundreds of trees. So each of those have got an energy. So technically, if you're talking energies, and you could use we've got energy, spirit have got energy. So technically, those trees have got an energy. So they might not be a human spirit, but they could be nature spirit. So all of a sudden, you've got energies that are magnified. So those nature spirits are among those human spirits, or whatever else is in that forest or wooded area, which can magnify the total energies. But typically, you wouldn't just notice the nature spirit going for a walk, or unless you're sensitive or things like that. But as soon as it gets dark, woods could be very much different, even for skeptics. People don't like necessarily the built-up forests in the dark. It can feel creepy. It feels like you're being watched. But yeah. From nature spirit or human spirit, but it was completely different. The woods that I went to, it was the first time I have done a woods. It was just the only reason we went. We'd do picnics with the kids and things like that. And wherever we stopped, we always go to the same place if we're doing that with the dogs and a picnic. Myself and my partner, we've always felt like we were watched. So I got a new camera. I thought, no, all events are cancelled. I know. I'll go to the woods where we always feel like we've been watched. I just couldn't believe it. I ended up doing a live from there, and everyone could see everything. But it was remarkable. I've been a couple of times since. We've had gunfire and all sorts on sounds.
Wow. A Facebook user, I don't know why it's not coming across to say who's answering the question here, Gavin. But
you're right. They have to give themselves permission now for data protection and let their names come up.
Yeah. Basically, they're saying, hey, I'm fascinated by roadside ghosts. How often do you see them, Gavin? And do they tend to be modern day spirits? That's quite a good question, isn't it?
Roadside, clearest that I've ever seen, and I even then went back to the car and got my phone to take a picture, was outside a doctor's surgery, and it was crystal clear. I did find out someone had died within the last 36 hours in that doctor's surgery. That was the clearest. Occasionally at junctions, I normally sense them before I see them. So typically, I might get a little bit of communication, but one of my rules is if I'm driving and spirit aren't to communicate with me. So my intent again there, it doesn't necessarily happen. They might jump into the car with me, but I'd know more when I got home. And then they'd start communicating. So I don't see as much at the side of the road. When I do, it'd normally be if my partner was in the car as well. I just saw something at the side of the road, then I might look and I'd see it. But me by myself, they won't necessarily show themselves at the side of the road, knowing that's one of my rules, that I'm not distracted while driving. So the only times I have seen is normally when my partner's seen them first.
Right, okay. That was from Lorian, by the way, who sent that question. So,
okay, yeah, hi, Lorian.
but obviously going back to the the wooded areas again, it's like you said, the trees have that sort of like energy that spirals around them. Maybe it was what me and my friends saw. Maybe it was like a spiritual, like seeing this person. Maybe they went there to end their life. Maybe we were seeing a replay of someone just basically walking through the woods. I mean, there are times or stories that I've heard that people say about obviously horse and carriages and things like that. You know, they actually hear it, because I've actually heard it. Horse and carriages on a railway bridge.
Funny enough, you're talking about the horse and carriage and things. The woods that I went to, it was like a crossroad of paths between villages. I was slap bang in the middle of the crossroads. But also there was a battle that had been there as well. And there was I don't know what they called it, flu hospital or sickness hospital, 200, 300 meters away. But I didn't know any of that at the time. I picked up little bits. So I researched after I'd left the woods and found out more from the communication that we'd got. Yeah, the energies, you never know. They're all going. There's going to be so many energies, how many thousands of years that are going to go through those woods. What was there beforehand? What was on the land? There may have been buildings there before and all sorts. Plus, if they're wanting to go somewhere quiet, they're going to go to the woods rather than in the middle of a city.
Exactly. Gavin, we're going back
very quickly to the crossroads that Lorian mentioned. How many of us do see it though, and they're that full of an apparition, we not realise it's not a human. So we could have all seen them and just not even realised, or you even spoke to someone you thought was a human. How many times does that happen, and we just are unaware of?
That's right. That's right. Right, questions are coming in quick and fast, Gavin. We've got 10 minutes. I don't believe how quick it's gone. But Lorraine Jones asks, Gavin, what is the scariest experience that you've ever had since you've been a medium?
Hearing an explosion in the house before we went to Grendon, we'd watched some videos on it. The spirit were aware I was going to Grendon, and someone else had had a similar experience with that. We'd watched a video, and that's how I ended up meeting Sadie with Indico and went to the event there. Anyway, it was one of her videos that I watched, and we were going to Grendon. Spirit didn't want me to go, and it exploded the glass on the oven in the middle of the night. It turned the oven on, everything on the oven. That was probably, that's coming into the category of one of the most scary things, because that was at home, and it knew that it was the intent I was going there and just wanted to not go.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
No, nothing really frightens me. Been to the Haunted Antique Paranormal Research Centre, and we slept in the, I think it's not the Chamber of Fear, the seance room at the back, which apparently is the most negative room in the, one of the most negative rooms in the place. I slept fine. I did leave my partner closest to the mirror, but
yeah.
But no, we were fine.
Okay, we've got another question from Graham Pikesley. Have you ever been around Nasby in Northamptonshire?
That's where I met the horse and the man. So where I was just talking about seeing, yes, that was where I met. It was in Hazelbeck, which is the next village down. That's where the horse and the man. It's a very, very old village, Battle of Nasby. I'm going to tell you the year, but now it's gone out of my head. No, I've not done a paranormal investigation there, but I do want to put on the anniversary of the battle, because I know Naseby very, very well. I have taken photos and I've seen all sorts over that way. So, but I've never done an investigation there.
Yeah, wow. And battlefields as well. That's an interesting one, because there are so many that people aren't aware of, Gavin, that are around. It's probably one of the best places to try and get activity, isn't it?
And most of the land probably been at some point been in a battle. Most of the towns were battled over at some point in history. So everywhere will have battle sites that we're not even aware of.
Yeah. I've got another question from Katie Stewart. I've had some great experiences in Naseby by the battlefield area, just down the road from me.
I'd love to know what experiences. I know I've seen things. You can just stop and take a picture there, and all sorts happens around Naseby. I'm interested whether that's the back road to Sulby or the road towards Clipston that she's seen them on. I've seen stuff on both sides.
Yeah.
No, I've lost you. You don't know the area.
No. Gavin, where's one of the most, see, the places that you've been to? What's been your favourite location that you've investigated? What's been your all-time favourite since you've been?
There's so many that I do like, and for different stories for each. But Grendon's probably got to be one of my absolute favourites. Haunted Antique Paranormal Research Centre, brilliant. You can't go without any activity there. But Grendon was my first event that I went there, but I've been there quite a few times, and it's never let me down. It's somewhere that I've got unfinished business. I want to go there again and have more communication. But they seem to communicate with every single method. There is one more, but I can't tell you where it is. A wonderful location, but it was privately that I went, and it's in the public eye, so I can't name where. But that I managed to get a picture of a whole row of terraced houses that used to be there before they were knocked down. So I've never ever taken a picture or anything like that where it was a physical item appeared in the photo.
Yeah.
I wish I could talk about that one more, but that is a very good location.
Okay.
But well, yeah, Grendon, one of the best.
Grendon, yeah, because it's not only just the house, is it, with Grendon? I mean, the grounds are massive as well, aren't
they? Yeah. Immense. And the spirits will lead you to things there as well. They don't just leave you, they will fully communicate and lead you to show you things. Like I said, they'll communicate in any way possible, in every way possible. And there's so many different spirits there. Every time you turn around, there's another and another. Just to communicate with near enough every room's got them in. There's animals, there's it's like the spirits that were upstairs. I don't know whether you got involved with the Transfiguration. It was the first place. I've got so many first memories there, you see, because that was where I first did Transfiguration with the mirror and the face changing, table tipping or chair tipping the heavy items. There's just so many different memories. Human pendulum was the first there for me as well with that experience. There were just so many experiences that were a first to Grendon. It's a highlighted area. It's a highlighted event for me. It doesn't. Don't get me wrong. There's lots that I've visited that I could rave about.
Yeah, Gavin, it's coming up to 9. It's been absolute pleasure, sir.
Lovely. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. Hope everyone's enjoyed it as well. We must meet up again soon, buddy. We must get ourselves out on an investigation again. Would you be up for that?
Definitely. Oh, I'd love that. I remember meeting you vividly at Grendon. It was a great night. It was very active.
Yeah.
It was a good event as well, because the way they structured it was just like free for all. We could go where we wanted, do what we wanted, and that was a perfect event. I can't wait for the paranormal to open up properly again.
I know, mate. Yeah, I know, because it has obviously over the past couple of months it has got to a stage where you're not able to go to events, obviously, because of what's been going on and stuff like that. But it will be back. We will be back, mate. We will continue it. Right, okay, Gavin, I'm going to get going now. Again, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute amazing pleasure. Whoever's been watching, again, please share, please like it, please share it as much as you can on as many groups as you can. Let's get the psychic medium Gavin on the map where he deserves to be.
If anyone wants to find me on Facebook, just search at Psychic Gavin and it'll take you across to my page. Feel free to follow it. I have got links across to my paranormal page and everything from there as well. But just search it, Gavin, and it'll bring it up. Okay, and I'll post the links as well on the thing below as well for you, Gavin. All right. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mark. Okay, that's brilliant, mate. You take care of yourself. See you soon. All right, take care. All right, take care, mate. Bye. Bye.